Well, today the House rose. MPs are now heading back to their ridings until the end of January. It looks like January 31st. So who better to take stock of the fall sitting? That was than our dear friends, Scott Reid and Jaime Watt. Gentlemen, top of the season to you for our last point of order of the season.
We're going to have a cup of cheer after this one, brother.
Happy holidays, Evan.
You usually have a cup of cheer before this one, so that will be a little different.
That would be a different order. Yes.
All right, we have
a
something
little cup of courage.
Something a bit different today on our point of order. We want to look back at 2010, and we want the boys to name their point made or point lost, or technically their winners and losers. Who made a point this year and who didn't make a point this year? All right, so let's start with Jaime Watt. Jaime, who made your political point of the year?
Evan, the biggest point of the year, hands down, was Brad Wall in Saskatchewan. Scott, here's a place that no one could pronounce, a sleepy place called Saskatchewan. Here was
Saskatchewan.
this chalky,
rose-colored stuff
called potash, which nobody needed. And, you know, Brad Wall came out of the gates. He stared down the second biggest mining company in the world. He stared down the titans of not just Bay Street, but Wall Street. He stared down powerful politicians, and he proved that campaigns matter. And you know, whether you agree with him or not, that's a very important thing. He ran a brilliant campaign, right? And he showed BHP, that once and for all, they're going to have to put Saskatchewan first. He showed the Prime Minister that he also needs to put Saskatchewan first. And if he wants majority government, he doesn't want it buried under a heap of potash fertilizer, he better listen to him. It was brilliant from start to finish.
All right, listen, absolutely Brad Wall point made during this year. I want to start, though, by pointing out to the viewers at home, right? These are bath salts, okay? So you're fooling nobody.
He's from downtown Toronto. He wouldn't know potash.
That's potash.
He wouldn't know potash if he saw it.
That's potash. I'm an astronaut. Now, you know, but here's what you only came to the correct point at the very end, and that is, who did he run this great campaign against? The Prime Minister,
his own party.
For
the people of Saskatchewan.
Fair enough, but he ran it against the entrenched interest. What did the Prime Minister say when this issue first came forward? He said, you know, it's an Australian company trying to take over an American company, whatever. Back her up, boys, and leave $2 on the dresser. She's all yours. It took Brad Wall to back him off of it, and it tells you a little bit of what's going to happen in the next leadership. You're going to see Brad Wall this summer in Jonquière getting fitted for some French and a dagger for Stephen Harper's back.
Well, we'll see about that, but he definitely made his name on the political scene. And one of the best speeches of the year, absolutely. All right, so that's Jamie's for Brad Wall. Scott Reid, who do you pick for your point made of the political season?
Well, I think the point made has to go to what's the most important issue in the country, the economy. Who's the most important player on the economy? Mark Carney, hands down, Governor of the Bank of Canada.
You sound like Time Magazine.
Time Magazine?
Yeah.
I'm way better than Time Magazine.
No, there is no Mark Carney without Jim Flaherty. Come on.
Give it up. Give it up. Thank
Mr.
God
Paul
for Mark
Martin,
Carney.
man.
No, you know what the problem is. Yes, and you know what? And then you had governors, and you had a finance minister and Paul Martin who came together or worked together, and they had mutually reinforcing policies. Let me talk. Now listen, here's the deal. With his very clever handling of monetary policy throughout the year, Carney has kept this economy afloat. Meanwhile, Flaherty has literally done nothing other than take us from a $13 billion surplus to a $60 billion deficit, creating jobs, no, not so much. Carney has been the answer to our economy's ails, and now he's taking an aim at household debt. And the question I've got for you guys is, are you going to respond? He's giving you guys a kick in the candy cane. Are you going to answer or what?
I think, you know, you actually make the point for me, which is it was just about Bank of Canada policy and just about monetary policy, we'd be in the same place as the United States. Not so good. Why are we outperforming the States? Why are we outperforing European countries?
Because the great legacy that Paul Martin left you and the efforts that Mark Carney's making now.
I'll even concede that we built on the legacy that Paul Martin left us, but we now have a finance minister. We have a finance minister who's the dean of the G7 finance ministers who does his job very well, named Finance Minister of the Year last year, and that is why
by some obscure international magazine. Give it a break.
As well. Right. And there is no Mark Carney without Jim Flaherty.
All right, so Mark Carney makes it on Scott's list, and Jaime tacks on a Jim Flaherty. All right, so that's interesting. Let's go to point lost. An interesting political season, some winners and losers. Jaime, who didn't have a good political season?
I think incumbents and the conventional wisdom of politics and the conventional expectations of politics didn't have a very good year. I think we saw lots of races where things were turned upside down and people have to look at things differently. I think, for example, if we sat here this time last year and we thought a guy by the name of Nenshi would have been the mayor of Calgary, I don't think that would have happened. I think if we'd sat here last year and said Rob Ford, who likes gravy as much as you and I do, would have actually got elected by saying, I'm going to end the gravy train, I think we would have said we were crazy. The bottom line is, it reminds me it's really important, which in politics, you've always got to be in with the outs, because eventually the outs become the ins. But I actually do think something is happening and something is at work. And the people are fed up with being taken for granted. The politicians or the public is fed up with politicians who hung a gone fishing sign on their door while jobs were lost and factories were closed. And whether it's the emergence of fringe parties in
the insurgents
in Europe,
against your own government
whether
now?
it's the Tea Party in the States, no, or whether it's the fact that we've got a conservative seat in the GTA, what we're seeing is people saying enough of the status quo. We want something else.
All right, listen. You know, it's not very seasonal. I hate to say it. I mean, it's quite a nasty insult. But that is the most. Speaking of conventional wisdom, that is the most tired repetition of conventional wisdom I've ever heard.
Actually right.
No, I think it's a misreading. I think it's a misreading of the tea leaves. This is actually not war on incumbents. What this is war on is some politicians who don't get it. People are hurt. They're distressed. They can't stretch their family budgets around the bills that they have to pay. And you know what? They don't hear anybody in the political class responding to them. They don't hear people talking about it. Rob Ford sounded that horn. Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Finance Minister Jim Flaherty are not talking about it, and it could be their Waterloo come the next election.
All right. You did use that term, political class. I know there's a little resonance there, Scott Reid. Who is your pick?
I'm not running for anything.
Oh, I know, but you did say it. Scott, who's your pick after a whole season for point lost? Who had a lousy season?
I don't even think there's a race. I think we just crown this guy, right? Point lost Tony Clement. He is to political files what, weed killer is to a lawn. It was just unbelievable.
Good at it.
Yeah, really? Yeah, no, I don't think so. This guy has taken potash, the G20. And of course, you're not making any bloody census, and just had a spectacularly awful year. It's hard to name a minister. Most people don't know the names of individual ministers. Tony Clement has had a 3-ring circus since the year started. I just want to really focus in on one of the spectacular disasters most of all. Because of course he owned the G20 being from, being from up where it was held in Huntsville. And of course he had a terrible, terrible outing around potash where, we signaled that of course the government was going to say no, and then of course he got rolled and had to say yes and inexplicably defended it. But on the census, this is a minister who goes out publicly, unforced error of spectacular lengths, goes out, says publicly, the head of Stats Can supports our policy. He knew the head of Stats Can didn't support the policy. He forced a great career civil servant to resign.
The bottom line is he couldn't have made much of a name for himself because you call him by the wrong last name. It's Tony Clement. Anyway, at the end of the day, how could you say he was a loser when he saved a woman? And not only did he save a woman from drowning, he used it as a teaching moment to tweet about water safety. This is a guy that's got fundamental good core political instincts. This is a guy who won the first time by 25 or 29 votes. He won the second time by 10,000.
This guy has run for every leadership that's come open in Canada in the last 10 years.
To resonate with his constituents and deliver what they're talking about.
Okay.
He's one that's on the game.
I have got to put an end to it. Although the water safety tip may have been pushing it.
It's good that he saved a woman's life. I give the guy that. Props for being a hero.
We've got to give props now. Our point made to the guys. Guys, great season to have you. You guys always make a point when you're on Point of Order. We're going to have to take a break for a couple of weeks. Now, you'll be back in mid-January. I don't even want to know what debauchery the two of you get up to over the holidays. But I will say, stay healthy, water safety, and have a great holiday.
Happy holidays, Evan.
Have a great holiday, Evan. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, guys.